Hey guys, this is like a little part two, I guess you could say, of an afterthought of Venom. Um, had a good night's rest and got a chance more to think about the movie after seeing it. So let's think about the movie and how the whole franchise of like Sony, how Sony still has some rights to Spider-Man, which is why they came out with the Venom movie, and they're gonna come out with a Morbius movie, another anti-hero movie that's in that's still connected to Spider-Man, even though they're not really making it canon. Canon of connection to Spider-Man, and not even canon to the MCU. For me, my thoughts on all of this is that I thought Venom was good. Like I said in the previous video, I gave it like a 4-star rating. Uh, I think Venom was good. Um, there are some points where it could have been better. Just one of those things that if you, anyone could really find little flaws in some movies. Uh, but I think Venom was good. I really enjoyed it, and but for me, if Marvel actually, if one of the reasons why I don't see Venom becoming canon and emerging as like with Tom Holland and like this version of Venom into the MCU is because it's created by Sony. If I feel like if they wanted to do something like that, they could have kept the original Spider-Man from Sony, from the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. I'm terrible. Like I said before, I'm terrible with actors' names. If they wanted to do that, they could have kept him as Spider-Man and brought him into the MCU. But it is what it is. I don't see the MCU studios and Disney, if they wanted to bring in Venom into the MCU, I don't see them having any connections with Sony's version of Venom. Granted, they'll probably take ideas of how they use the CGI for the symbiote and like the voice like idea. It's just that they'll take. I'm pretty sure they'll take ideas from Venom into the Venom character into the MCU. But I think he'll. I think if anything, in the MCU would probably do him like different, or they would make him look a little more different, and they would have a totally different actor. That's just the way I see it. Even though for me, I would love to see the Sony's Venom and Eddie Brock in the MCU. I don't see it happening because of Sony and MCU's coexisting deal. Uh, but since Sony still has rights to Spider-Man, I'm curious if I feel like they won't. I'm curious if even though they probably won't make a Spider-Man, another Sony won't make another Spider-Man. I'm curious if they'll bring back their actor that they had for Spider-Man and have him make appearances if they do another Venom movie. Um, for me, my thoughts on all this is that, and my ideas would be like I mentioned it in the review, but like clarifying it a little more clearly. This is also There's additional spoilers for Venom. That one of the things I would have done differently in the Venom movie was more towards the end, where the big fight scene between Riot and Venom, where Venom ends up basically sacrificing himself to save Eddie. That Venom even like the Venom symbiote brought up to Eddie, that telling him that he started to like him. He started to take a liking to him, and he started taking a liking to their planet, to our planet Earth, which is why he also wanted to save it. What I would have done differently is that when Venom sacrificed himself to protect Eddie from the explosion of the shuttle that killed Riot, that Venom pointed out earlier that fire is a symbiote's also weakness, not just the sound, but fire. When Venom sacrificed himself to shield Eddie, I feel like the fire and the explosion would have been so powerful that Venom would have got ripped from Eddie, but only a small portion of him would have survived. And Eddie would have washed up the shore or whatever, and he would have got separated from Venom, and Venom would have got separated from Eddie. Because where I would have done is that Venom would have gotten extremely weak after that explosion, to where he needed a host to regain his strength back. And I was thinking that like if for him to be like as if he was like a little piece of himself, like a smaller portion, he probably could have gotten to like a fish because we've seen him go on a dog. He got on a small dog. I would have had him maybe gone like on some sort of sea creature like a fish and trying to reach to land, trying to get a hold on another human, so he could eventually try to get stronger, regain his strength again, and then go find Eddie because Venom brought up that he gotten a liking to Eddie, so he would probably want to go back to Eddie. So one of the things I would have done is that like Venom isn't really familiar with Earth, so I was thinking that while going on a like not really I wouldn't really phrase it as a hunt, he would probably go on a search trying to find Eddie while he's regaining his strength back, and he would have ended up reaching all the way to New York, and I would have had it that like he ended up going on like I don't know like a fisherman or something because as if he was attached to a sea creature, he would have gone on like a fisherman or something, just another person as a host to get around and try to figure out a way to track down Eddie. Then I would have that so there would have been some sort of encounter with the Venom symbiote and Spider-Man, Sony's version of Spider-Man, to where the symbiote would have ended up latching on to Spider-Man, seeing how much of a great body host he would have been, and because like I said, he still has an attachment to Eddie, but I think Venom symbiote would have wanted to use Spider-Man to try to re-find Eddie quicker, seeing how much like power Spider-Man has, like he wanted to use that just to see if he could help him. But I was thinking that if anything, he would have stuck around with Spider-Man because he probably would have like ended up liking Spider-Man as well. But then eventually Spider-Man would get rid of him because Spider-Man probably would have noticed that Venom was corrupting his mind a little bit, his natural thoughts. So then of course, like Spider-Man would eventually have that moment of ripping off the Venom symbiote. But before that, I would have it that Eddie, back in San Francisco, probably would have ended up back with what's her name, Annie, his like love interest in the movie, and they announced in the movie too that his reporting career got kicked back up, and I would have had it that when he started getting back up and up more and more, that probably the Daily Bugle would have considered of rehiring him, giving him a second shot. And pretty sure Eddie still has a liking for New York, so I'll probably have that he would go back, and probably Annie would go with him. They would go back together, and he'd probably do his one little report or whatever. And they've already mentioned before in the Venom movie that Venom or Eddie Brock and Annie were previously engaged. So, and I would have had it maybe 6 months or so past. Eddie still thinks Venom's gone. Yeah, Venom sacrificed himself to save him. But I would have had it that Eddie goes back to New York, and him and Annie are back together. Eddie's working for the Daily Bugle again, and I would have Eddie repropose to Annie, to where Eddie's probably even looking for a church for their wedding. And he so happens to be at the church, the night, just checking it out. And there just so happens to be Spider-Man up in the bell tower, ripping off the Venom symbiote. And the Venom symbiote ends up going down onto Eddie. And, of course, I would have had Eddie had been shocked that Venom survived. And even asking Venom, where have you been, all this time? And Venom, I would have had the ending credits would have been like Venom reforming on Eddie, and you see the spider symbol showing up and like the white things on his head for the webbing. I would have all that, and right when he formed into Venom, I would have him say that like it's a long story or something like I don't even know where to begin, and I would have that been the pre-introduction of the Venom with the Spider-Man powers. That's how I would have done it. Of course, I probably would have kept something in ties with Carnage, with Cassidy. But that's how I would have done differently for a kind of ending to where Venom gets Spider-Man powers. The spider sense and the web slinging and the wall crawling and just even the additional strength and all that, everything that Spider-Man has, but more. You know, that's how I would have done it differently for the ending. I had more chance, I had more time to really think about it and really like think of the possibilities of what Sony could have done. Because, like I said, Sony still has some rights to Spider-Man, so I was thinking, why not just go this kind of route? I mean, they don't really have to show Spider-Man if they didn't want to. They could show little different kind of angles of him, but people will figure out that's Spider-Man. You know, so that's my little thoughts on how I would have done the ending or the post credits a little differently. You know, but it is what it is. We'll see what the future holds for Sony and their rights to Spider-Man. Because, like I said, they've already apparently announced that they're going to make a Morbius movie. Um, I don't know what's going to be the main role for that one yet. They haven't really talked about it, as far as I know. I got to look more into it. But those are my thoughts. But yeah, I'm like I said before too on the previous episode of the review. I'm hoping Sony doesn't go a little overboard with the anti-heroes of Spider-Man villains, because not every villain from Spider-Man is technically an anti-hero, but Sony might figure out a way of how to flip it. You never know, but that's all I gotta say right now on that. I definitely would want to go see the movie again. Maybe in 3D or in IMAX. I saw it in regular, but yeah, I would definitely recommend everyone go see it. For those that are a Marvel fan or even a Spider-Man fan, I'm definitely gonna want to go see it again. But until then, next time, bye guys.